Alright guys, and welcome back to part 2 of our Road to SEMA 2016. As you can see behind me, we're putting the final touches on our cars. In this episode, we're going to cover airbags, wheels, stickers, and our secret project that I've been holding out for you guys. And what is it? Well, you're just going to have to find out. Alright guys, so we're getting very, very close to SEMA. One of the last few big things we have to do is install air suspension on this car. I wanted to go for, again, more of a street style look. I've never done air suspension before. I have kind of no idea what I'm getting myself into, so this should be interesting. But I've got most of the components up here, air tank, these struts, the solenoid, and the controller itself, and I'm thinking we'll probably mount this in the trunk. I'm hoping I can mount this in the trunk. I don't exactly know where I'm going to put this, but probably in the trunk. We'll be taking apart the interior to run lines, fore and aft on the car. Installing the struts themselves should actually be incredibly easy. It's drilling the holes, running the lines through the car, I believe. I probably should read up on the instructions on exactly how I'm going to be approaching this, but I imagine this is going to take probably most of the day because it's already noon, and so we'll probably want to jump on this, and it may even go into tomorrow as well. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm kind of excited to get this installed. Well, I'm excited for the final result. I'm not so excited to be doing this installation because I'm not a big fan of drilling holes in my car, but we'll see how it goes. And then we do have a special treat for you guys later because I've kind of conquered something big, a big secret project on this car that I've been wanting to do. We didn't really know if it was going to work, but I found out it is going to work, and so we're going to go forward with that. But you guys will have to stay tuned later to find out exactly what that is. You might be wondering why we've got this Cosworth Supercharger unit here in front of me. Well, there's a good reason for that. I've always been saying that we've got something kind of special in the works, and this is exactly it. We are going to, at least attempt, to install this Supercharger onto our WRX to make it twin charged. Now, there have been a lot of obstacles we've had to overcome. Everything from adapters, which these will look like TGV deletes to a lot of you guys, but this is actually essentially a riser from the WRX heads up to the Supercharger. Now, I did have to modify the actual flange on the Supercharger itself because the FA20 on the BRZ and the FRS, the flanges are physically different and the port diameters are different as well, and so we actually had to neck them down in this adapter as well to provide for a nice smooth airflow. We went through a few different revisions. This is a 3D prototype until we got it, kind of just right, but it was actually a little bit easier than I thought. And you might be wondering, well, why don't you just bolt this directly down to the heads? Because you theoretically could with the modifications made to the Supercharger, but you have clearance issues with the direct injection system on the WRX. So you actually need to raise this up without extensive modifications to the direct injection pump itself, the cam-driven pump, and so we just kind of went for the easier route because we wanted this to be something you guys could essentially do at home if you were so inclined. The other thing I figured out we had to do was actually use a FRS alternator bracket, which needed to be modified, and you can see my extensive, beautiful modifications there, but this allows you to use the WRX alternator and still have this Supercharger unit fit. Okay, the other thing we've got going on here, and I'm not going to turn this around because it's just too heavy, we're using a WRX throttle body, but the WRX throttle body is a physically smaller diameter than the FRS. And so I actually had to modify the throttle body, basically widen the ports out a little bit on this throttle body in order to get it to bolt up to the FRS bolt pattern. Now, we could have used an adapter, but again, we wanted something that you're not having to make a whole bunch of custom parts. And then the other problem, we're using a Perrin front mount intercooler, which is beautiful, but of course it's designed for the 15 WRX specifically, and we have our charge pipe going up here instead of, down here where the factory throttle body sits. And so Perrin was nice enough to work with us, our buddies over there, to make us help make us some custom charge pipes to get this to fit. Now, We also had to modify the actual map sensor, because this is the WRX map sensor. You can't use the FRS one, so I had to drill and tap the actual supercharger itself. But the throttle body wiring harness and the map sensor wiring harness weren't reaching at all. So I actually did a kind of a cool trick on the throttle body wiring harness, because I didn't want to cut and splice because some of them are shielded wires. And so I was actually able to completely unwrap the main engine harness, depin the connector, run those wires up to the highest point in the harness. I'll show you guys. And then, basically repin it, and now we've got ample length for our throttle body. And then I actually did cut and splice for the map sensor. So quite a bit of work to get this thing installed. And then the last few things that we need to do is hood clearance. This will fit, but it's this piece right here that won't clear the actual hood itself. So we'll probably have to modify the hood a little bit, and then the pump and this reservoir, figuring out a mounting solution for that. So we still have a few things to overcome. I always say the SEMA is coming right around the corner, and so we've got to figure this out pretty quickly. But at least we're going to be able to get this bolted on and installed today, and then the other little things we can kind of work out as we go along. Anyway, sorry for the long introduction. I just wanted to kind of go over all of this with you guys. I think it's a freaking awesome project. I'm so excited to see what this thing can do. Let's get started. All right, so our very first step for our FRS's road to SEMA is going to be installing this beautiful supercharger right here. Now you might be wondering why we're doing this, because we already have a Cosworth supercharger installed on our FRS. But the reason for this is the supercharger that's on it is a pre-production unit. I think we're one of a handful of people that actually got a pre-production unit directly from Cosworth, and we wanted to be able to have something on the car that anybody could buy off the shelf, not a pre-production unit that was kind of hand built specifically for us, but a just off the shelf, run-of-the-mill, beautiful, although Cosworth supercharger. So the first thing we need to do is get the old supercharger off the car, and then we're going to be installing this one. So let's get started. Wanted to install some more parts on our FRS, mainly trying to change it up a little bit. Yes, we've already got aftermarket sway bars on the car, but we don't have a aftermarket crank pulley, and we're going to be doing some extensive rear bumper modifications. We really want to expose the rear end of this car because everything is so beautiful underneath there that we wanted to do something not to hide it, but to really expose it. And so we decided to go with this Beat Rush rear subframe, or excuse me, rear bumper beam. And this gets rid of the factory ugly looking bumper beam and replaces it with this beautiful piece. And so you actually shouldn't be able to see this bumper beam with the modifications we're going to be doing. The crank pulley, this is just a nice little modification, should be pretty easy to install. Will help the engine basically rev up a little bit quicker, make rev mat shifting a little bit easier, and also should provide a little bit of performance gain as well. And then the sway bars, we should get a little bit of performance bump out of this, but mainly it's just to add some different color to underneath the car, particularly in the rear. And so we went with these Eibach sway bars. And of course, this is the SteamSpeed lightweight crank pull. I probably should mention that. Anyway, we're just gonna go ahead and throw all these things on. The car, we're hoping will be ready in time for SEMA. I'm thinking it will, but we're kind of in a crunch, so I'm gonna stop talking. We're gonna start installing. Hey guys, thanks for watching our Road to SEMA 2016. As you can see behind me, both cars are pretty much finished up. We've got a few little things to do on them, but we'll finish those later tonight, and then first thing tomorrow morning, we're gonna load these things on trailer and we're gonna take off for Vegas. Now, make sure to, if you guys are gonna be in Vegas, we really wanna see you, make sure to stop by our booth in the Central Hall, 23113, if I remember correctly. That is correct. We'll be at the Cosworth booth. Both cars will be here. Of course, you can see them in person. Anyway, like always, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.